California Harley dealerships are finally getting what they deserved. And it didn't start with a headline. It started with riders getting brushed off, fees multiplying, service timelines stretching, phones going dead, then the closures hit. And suddenly, the "you'll take it or leave it" era stopped working. Because when a dealer treats riders like captive customers, the market eventually answers back. Watch till the end, because I'm breaking down what triggered this reckoning. A market that should have been bulletproof. California sells the dream better than any brochure ever could. Nearly 1 million registered motorcycles share the roads, and the riding season never really ends. The air stays mild, the pavement stays calling, and the routes are the kind riders pin to garage walls. Pacific Coast Highway, rolling beside the water. Mulholland, carving above the city lights. The Sierra Passes that make a touring bike feel like it was built for one job, eat miles. Then there's lane splitting, fully legal, written into the culture. It turns gridlock into forward motion. It makes a commute feel like control. Put all of that together, and a Harley dealership in California should be a money printer. Steady traffic, loyal riders, endless tourists. You would expect service bays booked, yes, but also organized, staffed, and proud. You would expect the sales floor to be confident, not desperate. You would expect straight talk, fair paperwork, and a handshake culture that respects pride and dollars. So the contradiction lands hard. How do dealerships fail in the strongest motorcycle market in America? Not a slow fade either. Closures, consolidations, empty storefronts where neon used to glow. If the most rider-dense state can't keep the lights on, the problem is deeper than rent and weather. A single address in San Francisco explains how the ground started cracking. The end of a 110-year institution. Dudley Perkins was not just a place to buy a bike, it was a living archive of Harley-Davidson in California. The story starts in January 1914, when Dudley Perkins Sr. opened shop in San Francisco. He raced. He climbed hills. He built a reputation that wasn't marketing. It was earned in grease and trophies. The dealership survived eras that wiped out weaker businesses. During the First World War, when new motorcycle production tightened, they kept moving by refurbishing used machines. During the Great Depression, they reportedly sold only 15 motorcycles in an entire year and still stayed open. That kind of endurance changes a shop's DNA. It becomes a community anchor. 4 generations carried the name forward. In September 2014, thousands showed up for the centennial celebration because riders don't attend a party for a building. They show up for belonging. A place. Like that doesn't die easily. Old photos on the walls carried weight, and riders treated the counter like home turf. Yet, in January 2018, the family sold. No scandal required. Succession is hard. Times change. What matters is what followed. Ownership shifting from stewardship to portfolio logic. A legacy operation became an asset to be optimized, rebranded, and scaled. Once a museum becomes a spreadsheet, the pressure to expand arrives fast. If this kind of dealer reckoning matters to you, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. Also, leave your experience below. Which California dealership, what year, and what happened with pricing, service time, or warranty handling. Consolidation without presence. The buyers were not newcomers. They already ran multiple Harley dealerships around the Bay Area. On paper, that experience should have meant stability. In practice, the model turned into a web. One group controlling San Francisco, San Jose, and nearby markets. The original dealership identity was stripped down and rebuilt under new names and new locations. As if history was a paint color, more storefronts appeared. More territory was claimed. The footprint grew, but presence shrank. Riders notice fast when the familiar faces vanish. Wait times grow, callbacks shrink, and the shop starts feeling like a chain. That's the vulnerability with consolidation. When one owner runs several doors, attention becomes a scarce resource. Culture gets diluted. Decisions get centralized. The sales floor learns to chase quotas, and the service department learns to survive backlogs. Employees stop feeling seen. The shop stops feeling like a local institution and starts feeling like a branch. Reports from workers described leadership that rarely appeared on site. When the people at the top aren't in the building runs on inertia. Small problems become normal. Missing parts get shrugged off. Paperwork stacks up. A bay that once felt like a craft shop starts feeling like a warehouse. In a system like that, collapse doesn't announce itself with a siren. It arrives as a quiet decision made far away. If you ride in California, look in the description for the gear and accessories that make ownership simpler and safer. The Saturday that told the truth. On Saturday, June 22nd, 2024, the public face of the dealership still looked alive. Social media posts pushed deals and open house energy. Customers walked in, expecting another ordinary day. Inside, mechanics had bikes on lifts, tools out, jobs midstream. A noon meeting was scheduled, but the owner didn't show. Hours passed. Work continued, because that's what working people do. Close to 6 p.m., the owner finally arrived. According to multiple accounts from staff, the message was blunt. Corporate was taking over, operations were stopping, paperwork for unemployment was being handed out. No staged wind down, no orderly handoff, just the instruction to put tools down and leave. Repairs stopped mid-job. Customer motorcycles sat stranded behind locked doors. Phones went unanswered. Websites went dark. A handwritten sign became the only update. The manner of the shutdown matters because it exposes the operating philosophy. When a business ends like that, it wasn't managed for continuity. It was managed for exit. The impact radiated instantly. Riders without a home base, employees without a plan, and a city suddenly without a Harley dealership presence. Within days, riders swapped numbers, hunted storage yards, and called corporate lines for answers. That scramble previews what many California towns faced after similar later closures. From here, the story widens beyond one closure and into a statewide pattern. The modern deal sheet. A dealership does not survive on romance. It survives on margins. And the modern deal sheet is where margins get rebuilt. When volume drops, riders walk in expecting a price on the bike, then the paperwork grows teeth. Freight appears as a separate line, even when the unit arrived weeks ago. Prep shows up as setup, assembly, or inspection, despite the fact that the work is already baked into normal delivery. Documentation fees stack on top, framed as unavoidable processing, even though the same printer and same clerk handle every sale. Add-ons hide in plain sight too. Protection packages and extended coverage get framed as safety nets, then quietly raise the total. Once the signature hits, walking away feels painful, so fees stick. In California, complaints and legal filings have alleged cases where certain fees were charged, even after a manufacturer reimbursed the dealer for parts of that expense. Whether every claim holds or not, the incentive is easy to understand. When fewer bikes move, each transaction has to carry more overhead. The pressure is not always greed. Sometimes it is survival math. Still, for the rider, it feels like getting nickeled after committing. The deal sheet becomes a stress test of trust, and trust breaks fast when costs feel hidden. The real tension starts when that same logic spills into the service lane. Warranty as leverage. Warranty should be simple. A defect is covered, the repair gets done, the rider gets back on the road. The strain begins when warranty becomes leverage. Federal law, including the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, generally prevents a seller from requiring branded parts or specific service providers as a condition of coverage, unless those items are provided free. Yet customers have alleged being pressured toward dealer-only maintenance, dealer-only fluids, or dealer-only documentation to protect their coverage. Some riders describe the soft threat, skip the dealer, and the next claim gets reviewed. Even if the words are never said outright, the message can be implied quietly by tone, paperwork, and delay. Even without explicit threats, the structure creates dependency. Modern bikes generate codes, software updates, and warranty authorizations that flow through dealer systems. That makes the dealership the gatekeeper, and gatekeepers can steer behavior. Riders respond by hoarding receipts, photographing odometers, and keeping a paper trail just in case later. They may accept overpriced maintenance to avoid a fight later. They may delay independent work because they fear a denial. The outcome is not always illegal, but it is often coercive in feel. A warranty becomes less like peace of mind and more like a leash that tightens whenever the service counter says, "We need to see it here." Sooner or later, the leash meets a bottleneck: capacity. The service backlog equation. Service backlogs are not a vibe problem. They are throughput versus demand, and California demand is relentless. Riders report waiting 3 weeks just to get a bike looked at, then watching a quoted timeline stretch with no updates. Parts delays add friction, and staffing shortages add pain. A technician shortage is not solved by a sale banner. It is solved by training, pay, and shop culture that keeps skilled hands from walking. Backlogs also change how a shop treats people. The phone rings, the counter stacks up, and updates get skipped because every minute spent talking is a minute not turning wrenches. From the outside, it looks like indifference. From inside, it can be pure overload. Consolidation makes the math worse. When nearby dealerships close, the remaining stores inherit the workload without inheriting extra bays. The same number of lifts must handle more warranty claims, more scheduled maintenance, and more unexpected failures. Each delay pushes riders into a cycle. Time off work, trailer rentals, longer drives, repeated phone calls. The dealership loses goodwill with every unanswered message, even when the techs are working flat out. That's why backlog complaints spread faster than any advertisement. That delay becomes the story riders remember. The shop becomes a choke point, and a choke point changes buying behavior. When the map shrinks, the choke point turns into a trap. When geography collapses, closures change everything because distance is a cost. Since 2020, at least 11 Harley dealerships in California have reportedly shut their doors, leaving gaps that riders can feel in their calendars. Northern towns lost nearby options, pushing service needs towards cities hours away. San Francisco ended up with no dealership presence inside the city. Southern California saw famous locations disappear, sending riders toward fewer remaining hubs. Each closure stretches the service queue because the same regional population still needs warranty work, recalls, and routine maintenance. The geography problem also rewrites the purchase decision. A rider might love a bike, but hesitate if the nearest authorized service is a half-day trip. It turns a quick warranty visit into a weekend ordeal. That hesitation shows up as fewer new sales, which then pressures dealers to squeeze harder on the deals they do close. Longer travel means riders postpone repairs. Postponed repairs become breakdowns. Breakdown stories travel through riding groups faster than any press release. Pricing flexibility also narrows when a dealer knows the alternative is a long drive. Even a fair shop becomes more rigid under load because scheduling becomes triage. The cumulative effect is simple: less access, more weight, higher friction, and a stronger urge to avoid the system entirely when possible. Above the showroom and service bay, another set of forces was tightening the screws. Dealer council revolt. When the dealer council revolted, it was not a barroom rumor, it was a paper trail. More than 200 dealerships signed onto a letter through the industry accusing corporate leadership of pushing strategies that looked clean on slides and brutal on the ground. Excess inventory mandates forced stores to take units they could not move. Costly showroom upgrade demands arrived like bills you did not agree to, yet still had to pay. Then came the twist that stung the most: corporate online discounting that undercut dealers expected to carry the brand in person. That mix creates a kind of conflict. The factory wants volume and uniform image. The dealership needs turnover and margin. When those goals collide, the store becomes a pressure valve, and pressure changes behavior. Sales managers chase faster closes. Finance desks tighten their language. For riders, the change shows up as tone. A deal that used to feel straightforward starts feeling like a negotiation with hidden traps. A service visit starts feeling rushed, like the shop is trying to clear you out instead of bring you in. No sympathy is required to see the exposure clearly. A franchise system can become a tug of war where the customer stands in the middle, still holding the rope. Follow the paper trail long enough, and the argument stops being emotional and becomes numerical. The sales decline in plain numbers. The sales curve tells the story without raising its voice. In 2006, Harley-Davidson moved roughly 344,000 motorcycles worldwide. In 2024, the figure landed around 151,000. That is a decline of 56%, and it changes behavior in every room where decisions get made. A shrinking pie creates sharper elbows, because every unsold unit is not just a missed sale, it is a cost that keeps breathing. Declines like that also change what gets prioritized. Corporate tends to chase higher margin models and fewer variations, because complexity is expensive when demand is soft. Dealers, meanwhile, get urged to stock deep, so the floor looks healthy, even if the back office is sweating. The tension is invisible to shoppers until it becomes visible in incentives, discounts, and the way staff reacts to a slow weekend. Riders feel it in the bargaining posture. When a brand is strong, the price is the price. When a brand is shrinking, the sales floor starts reaching for urgency. And urgency can sound like pressure. None of this requires villains. It is trend pressure, plain and mechanical. The kind that turns a proud organization into one that checks quarterly reports like Weather Radar today. Once sales fall, inventory stops being a display and starts becoming a liability that must be financed. If you want the rest of this story as it keeps unfolding, subscribe now. The sales numbers and the inventory pressure explain what's coming next, and it's going to reshape where you buy, where you service, and what you pay. The floor plan trap. Most riders do not see the financial engine behind a showroom row. Dealers rarely own that inventory outright. They finance it through floor plan lending, a revolving loan tied to each unit on the floor. Every month, a bike sits unsold, interest accrues, and the lender expects proof the units are still there. Multiply that across a nationwide estimate of 60,000 unsold motorcycles, and you get a warehouse full of ticking meters. The trap is that the meter does not care about pride. A bike can be perfect, spotless, and admired, yet still be draining cash. Some lenders also impose curtailments, meaning chunks of principal come due as the unit ages. That pushes dealers toward discounting, bundling, and aggressive end-of-month deals, because moving one unit can stop multiple payments. It also explains why trade-in values get squeezed when the floor is already crowded for months on end. That is where pressure turns practical. A store with heavy carrying costs leans on add-ons and faster closes. It trims staff instead of expanding service bays, because payroll is immediate, while reputation loss feels delayed. Riders experience this as stiff attitudes and rushed conversations, even when the real culprit is a loan calendar sitting on a manager's desk as the financing clock keeps ticking. California introduces its own margin squeeze that rewrites what dealers can upsell. The regulatory margin squeeze. California adds friction that cannot be negotiated away at a sales desk. In 2016, Harley-Davidson settled with federal regulators over emissions-related products, paying a total of $15 million and agreeing to halt certain tuner sales and compliance pathways. For dealers, that matters, because performance parts have long been a high-margin corner of the business. When oversight tightens, the easy upsell becomes harder, paperwork grows thicker, and customers get more cautious about anything that could trigger a warranty argument or a compliance problem. The California Air Resources Board carries its own weight in the state. Certification requirements and enforcement expectations can slow what gets stocked, what gets installed, and what gets advertised. That doesn't just affect speed parts. It affects how a shop talks to customers, because nobody wants to be on the wrong side of a compliance question. A manager becomes conservative. A service writer becomes scripted. A parts counter becomes hesitant, even when the writer is asking for something ordinary, in plain, simple terms. Structural reality is simple. When margin tools get restricted, weak operators reach for other levers, and the whole system becomes brittle under strain. Dealers lose a profitable buffer, while corporate and lenders still expect numbers to hit. When corporate pressure, sales decline, financing costs, and regulations stack together, leadership flaws stop being hidden and start becoming inevitable. The warnings that went unanswered. Long before doors were locked, the signals were already there. Mechanics and parts staff described missing inventory, odd transfers, and orders that never matched what showed up on shelves. Some put the concern in writing, sending emails up the chain about internal theft and off-the-books sales. Others raised it, the old way, face-to-face, in the service lane, where problems usually surface first. The pattern was not subtle. Repeated warnings, specific examples, specific dates, then silence from leadership. In a functioning operation, even a rumor triggers procedure. Receiving logs get checked against invoices. High-dollar items get moved into a cage. Badge access gets reviewed. Random bin counts get scheduled after close. Those steps are boring, yet they save real businesses. Governance is not about speeches, it is about response. A healthy shop logs the complaint, checks the cameras, audits the bins, tightens access, and protects the people who report problems. When that loop breaks, two things happen. First, the theft grows because it learns there is no consequence. Second, the honest employees stop reporting because reporting feels pointless. That is how risk signals get missed, not because everyone is blind, but because the system refuses to act. A dealership can survive slow months. It cannot survive ignored control failures. The first invoice paid in a collapse is usually written in human lives. Skilled labor. Without a shop. When a dealership shuts down without warning, technicians take the hit before executives feel anything. These are people who invested years learning how to diagnose noise, chase electrical gremlins, and keep touring bikes safe. Their toolboxes are not hobby collections, they are livelihoods. When the shutdown order lands, the work stops mid-repair, and the tech who knows that bike best is told to walk away. Most technicians carry certifications and a reputation that took decades to earn. When the shop disappears, that reputation does not vanish, yet the pipeline does. Some scramble to find space at independent garages. Others relocate, pulling knowledge out of the region. Families feel that shock instantly. A paycheck disappears. Health coverage becomes uncertain, and a schedule built around shop hours turns into phone calls and paperwork. The public often sees only a closed storefront. Inside the service bay, the loss is more specific. Unfinished jobs, parts laid out, customer notes taped to bars, and a sense of craft interrupted. Riders also pay in time, because motorcycles left inside a shuttered building become a retrieval problem. Calls go unanswered, online portals go dark, a simple oil leak turns into weeks of waiting. This is not sentimental, it is the mechanical reality of disruption, and it spreads through a region fast. When skilled hands scatter, the whole market rebalances. Where riders redirected. Riders do not stop riding because one dealership fails. They reroute. The first shift is toward independent shops, the places that survive on reputation because they cannot hide behind a logo. A good independent mechanic becomes a local hub, and word travels through weekend meetups, parking lots, and group rides. The second shift is toward the used market. When trust in new bike paperwork drops, private sales feel cleaner. One price, one handshake, one test ride, no surprise line items. A third shift is behavioral. people learn to do more themselves. They buy manuals, gather tools, schedule maintenance before it becomes urgent, and lean on community knowledge. Some riders start planning service like a trip, bundling multiple fixes into one visit to reduce downtime. Others form informal co-ops, sharing specialty tools, lift time, and trusted parts sources. None of this is anti-brand. It is pro-control. In some regions, riders also migrate to other makes when service access becomes too distant, especially if touring comfort and parts availability are easier to secure elsewhere. The common thread is practical. Minimize downtime, minimize hassle, keep miles on the calendar. Once enough riders redirect, the dealership model loses its most valuable asset: habit. For touring riders, the workaround is keep spare wear parts, document maintenance, and schedule service months ahead before trips. Only one question remains after the dust settles: deserved or inevitable? California offered everything a motorcycle business could ask for: dense riding culture, year-round roads, legal lane splitting, and a steady stream of long-haul travelers. Dealers also faced real strain: shrinking national volume, corporate mandates, floor plan interest, staffing shortages, and regulatory complexity that tightened margins. Those pressures explain why tempers rose and why operations got rigid. They do not explain why warning signs were ignored. The difference between hardship and failure is response. Under pressure, strong leadership tightens controls, communicates early, protects the service department, and keeps riders informed even when the answer is bad news. Weak leadership lets problems sit until they become disasters, then acts surprised when the floor caves in. That is accumulated neglect, not one unlucky season. The reckoning is visible in how riders and watchdog groups react. Complaints get organized, patterns get documented. Regulators pay closer attention when enough stories match. Dealers who want to survive have to rebuild trust the hard way. Transparent pricing, clear timelines, returned phone calls, written estimates, visible parts handling, posted policies riders can actually read, and proof that the shop floor is managed, not ignored. Did they deserve it, or was it inevitable? The hard truth is both. California gave every advantage, but pressure exposed weak leadership. The market offered chances. Employees sent warnings. Riders complained. Inventory costs climbed. Yet the response never matched the signals. Problems sat, then multiplied. When the doors finally shut, it looked sudden. But the timeline had been building for years. That is what makes this reckoning feel earned and unavoidable at the same time. Not one bad month, but a chain of ignored moments for long. Markets will forgive mistakes made in good faith. They will not forgive indifference. California didn't run out of riders, it ran out of patience. If your local shop starts stacking fees, dodging timelines, and acting like you have no options, treat that as a signal, not an annoyance. The smart riders document everything, line up a backup service plan, and keep leverage before leverage disappears. If you've seen this in your area, comment the dealership and year and what happened. Hit like if this saved you time, and subscribe for the next breakdown.